In today's episode, we're going to be talking about diversity in private aviation, and I'll give you my take and I'll tell you why. And this is based off of the recent Safety Standdown conference that Bombardier puts on every year. It's a really, really good conference. I've attended a number of times, and it's all about flight safety. They bring in pilots from all over the world, and they sit there and they bring in all these experts, and they talk about flight safety, how we can improve flight safety and that. And it's really, really an important event, and really, really a valuable event to attend. So credit to Bombardier for putting this on every year and serving the aviation community. So before we get into this meat of this episode, my name is Fabrizio. I'm an airline transport pilot. I'm your aviation advisor, also the author of the book, The Quantum Economy. This is about business aviation. It's about business of the future and why you need a private jet. It's more about the why than the how. So, but there's lots of content in there, lots of stories of people that are using the private jet to build their business, using it as a business tool. So let's get into today's episode. And Tony Cohen is one of the presenters, and he's a great guy. Big into pilot training and that. Worked for the United States Air Force for a number of years as a pilot and as a trainer. Trained many pilots around the world, and he is one of the main speakers at the Safety Standdown every year. And I've listened to lots of his lectures and read all his books. Great content, great value. Now, he said a number of things, and he addressed the factor of mental health, which is an ongoing problem at the moment with pilots. A number of airlines now have introduced this into their system, where if anybody's got some issues at home or whatever and they don't feel that they're mentally there to fly, they should call in and say so. The problem is a lot of pilots don't want to admit that they're not mentally fit to fly, and this is a problem that needs to be addressed, and a system needs to be put in place so that pilots are comfortable that they can put their hand up and say, I'm not mentally fit today to fly, and that this is not going to jeopardize their career. And so this is why the pilots aren't speaking up. But there is a problem, and it's a recurring problem, and it seems to be a problem that's getting worse and worse. The other thing Tony Cohen talked about in his presentation was the fact that the safety record in private aviation is really, really bad. And I've talked about this a lot here on BizJet TV. I talk about it in my book, The Quantum Economy, where I state the fact that, private aviation, the safety record is 9.2 times worse in private aviation than it is with the airlines. And this is a fact. So training is a big issue, and that needs to be addressed. But another thing that Tony talks about, he talks about diversity, and I'll quote what he says here. He says, there's a lot of weird stuff going on socially with our industry, and the more the merrier. We want more women, we want more minorities, we want diversity. We don't have enough people. It all sounds like a great idea, but if you haven't prepared for it, it's going to generate all kinds of interpersonal challenges that interrupt the CRM loop. Now, should we have, more people of colour in aviation? Should we have more women? I'm all for it. I'm not against it. But we shouldn't put that as a criteria for selecting our people. So you're watching this channel because you're interested in private aviation. You're probably interested in thinking about buying a private jet. And as I always say, the jet is important, but the people that fly the jet, that maintain the jet, that manage the jet, are probably far more important than the jet itself. And this is something that's really, really important to understand. So I don't think that we should set as a criteria that we're going to, I'm going to buy a jet and I'm going to hire just women pilots. You should set the criteria as I want to hire the best. And the best should be based on their training, their background. And this is what I look for in a pilot. I look at the CV and I want to make sure that the captain's got at least 4,000 or 5,000 hours, if not more. That the captain's probably over 35 years old, married. This just tells me that the person is had enough life experience. They're married, so they're committed to building a family. And that tells you a lot about their character. You look at they've got a few thousand hours of flight time, and then you look at what planes they have flown and where they have flown. What companies have they flown for? Where did they do their training? What planes have they flown? And then the next thing you want to check is, do I know anybody that knows these people? Or is there somebody that I can trust that actually knows this person? And find out more about their personality. This is the criteria. Now, I've often spoken about, I like people with airline backgrounds or coming out of the military, because it's just sort of regimented. But even people that have come through the ranks of private aviation and managed to get into a company like NetJets and spent maybe 2 or 3 years with NetJets, which is a good company with great standards, you're getting a pilot that's got certain standards. And that's what you need to look for. Now, if the pilot happens to also be black and a woman, great, fine. And she's the best candidate, I'm all for it. But what I see as very, very dangerous, we already have a safety record which is 9.2 times worse than the airlines. If we start playing the diversity card in private aviation, that's going to go from 9.2 to 12, 13, 14%. It's going to get worse. So we need to make sure that the people we're bringing in to fly our private jet know what they're doing, they're good people, they're well trained, and they keep you safe. That's my criteria, that's my advice. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of BizJet TV. Let's get the conversation going. What do you think? Do you think my comments are racist? Fine. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. I am. You are. Get yourself a copy of The Quantum Economy by clicking on the link below. And check out this other video I did where I interviewed Tom Aboud. Great guy, business guy, lawyer turned entrepreneur, and also pilot. And he talks about his journey into private aviation and how he uses his private jet to build his business. And that's a great, interesting one. As I always say, the private jet is a great business tool. And that's all from Fabrizio here on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.